about go over some of the fraud allegations with you guys so everybody gets a understanding of what is actually going on. Now, last week in different counties, Rudy Giuliani and Trump's lawyers were putting out the allegations. And the media was saying that there was no fraud. Now the allegations are in a court of law. So now we want to go over them so everybody knows what's going on. Okay? Okay, so these fraud allegations were put on the record in an affidavit form. Now, what is an affidavit? An affidavit is medieval Latin. So, affidavit in Latin means for he has declared under oath. Now, affidavit is a written fact, voluntary, made by an affiant. So, an affidavit is a written fact in a court of law, okay? Once it's given, once it's taken and it's signed by a notary republic, once it's given to a court official, it becomes a fact, okay? So, let's go over those allegations. Okay, so in the fallout from November 3rd election, numerous credible allegations of voter irregularities have arisen in the form of sworn affidavits and other evidence. So a sworn affidavit, once it's given to a judge, it's evidence. It goes under evidentiary rules. Every state has evidentiary rules, okay? So if you're going to put anything in an affidavit, if you look under the evidentiary rules of each state, it'll tell you how to form the affidavit. Okay? So now, let's get started. I want to go over this so everyone that comes on this channel knows exactly what is going on in their community and what's going on with the national elections. Okay? So, in the fallout from November 3rd election, numerous credible allegations of voter irregularities have arisen in the form of a sworn affidavit and other evidence. Below, we provide an overview of some of the information currently known. So, this is an overview, and this is the article, Election Fraud Allegations by Epoch Times. So this is the article that I'm reading. Okay? And it's an infogram of all the election fraud. Okay? Look at how long that is. All right, so let's go over it. Universal mail-in ballots. This year, universal mail-in ballots were widely adopted by responses by states for the use in response to the CCP virus. Previously, a voter would have to request an absentee ballot and get a witness to verify their identity to be able to vote by mail. This year, 9 states and the District of Columbia mailed out ballots to everyone on their voter rolls, while others suspend the witness requirement. So you're not supposed to do that, but because of the pandemic, they suspended the witness requirements. That's one thing. Okay, easing of mail-in ballot restrictions. Progressive groups in many states sued to ease security features for mail-in ballots, such as signature and witness requirements, and in some cases to allow ballots to arrive after the election. Okay, so that's a no-no. Votes should not be arriving after election, and no restrictions should be made to accept that. I don't care if it is COVID-19. Poll watchers obstructed. Poll watchers in states such as Pennsylvania and Michigan said they were not allowed to properly observe the ballot counting. In some instances, they were told to stand so far back that they required binoculars to observe what ballot counters were doing. Some poll watchers were forced to stand outside. Okay. Electronic voting system. Voting machines which rely on outdated technology are vulnerable to be hacked. Two of the main companies that produce voting machines in the United States, Dominion and Electronic Systems and Software LLC, rely on Chinese party, making the machines especially vulnerable. Another company, Smartmatic, has questionable foreign ties, including to Venezuela. Okay, so the next one, potential foreign influence. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has a lot to gain from a Biden presidency, with whom its leader, Xi Jinping, was cultivated to close relationships over the years. Furthermore, the Biden family has stand to gain from business deals in China, including those with CCP members. The CCP thought its state-controlled media has publicity, but put its support behind Biden. So the Communist Party put its support behind Biden. Okay, so if the Democrat Party can say that Russia was on the side of Donald Trump, now it's come back to kick them in the ass. Now he's saying that China is, they never should. One thing Democrats should have never did was brought up Russia and saying Russia was engaging in foreign activity here in the United States with Donald Trump. Now Donald Trump could turn around and say, well, y'all have China. You know, you should have never started that. So that was stupid on the Democrats' behalf. Okay, media and big tech. Media organizations and big tech companies such as Facebook and Twitter were quick to call Joe Biden president-elect despite ongoing legal challenges, and have labeled anything to the contrary as false or misleading information, including tweets by President Donald Trump. 4 years of campaign against Trump. The current allegations of voter fraud come after 4 years of efforts to oust Trump from office, first through the false Russia collusion narrative, then through impeachment. So these are some of the fraud allegations. So let's talk about ballots. 90% for Biden. In a sworn affidavit filed in Georgia, a poll watcher with 20 years experience says she was surprised to find batches of pristine ballots during the state's recount, and noted that markings for the candidates on those ballots were unusually uniform. The poll watcher estimated that of those ballots, approximately 98% constituted votes for Joseph Biden. So when you're voting when they're counting the votes, they're saying all of them were for Joseph Biden, none for Trump. Now, when you have two candidates, that doesn't work like that. That's just like flipping a coin and it always ends up on heads. That doesn't exist. Okay, perfect black bubbles. Several poll watchers in Georgia said in a sworn affidavit that during the recount they saw ballots with perfectly made bubbles selections. They all had a perfect black bubble and all were Biden selected. One observer stated, according to the observer, as workers went through the ballots, Biden's name was called over 500 times in a row. That's like flipping a coin and it lands on heads 500 times. That doesn't exist. Okay, no signature verification. Poll watchers in both Michigan and Georgia said that no effort was made to verify the signatures on the envelopes of mail in ballots. In Detroit, a poll watcher said in a sworn testimony that she was told not to ask for identification when voters arrived to vote in person. Remember, I told y'all that when you get an apartment, if you don't have a birth certificate or a picture ID, you're not getting an apartment. Okay, tens of thousands of ballots arrive overnight. Tens of thousands of unsealed, unsecure ballots arrived in vehicles without of state license plates in Michigan. Wayne County at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, election day, according to a sworn affidavit by a poll worker. I specifically noticed that every ballot I observed was cast for Joe Biden, the poll worker said. Ballots counted multiple times. 7 witnesses in Michigan say in sworn affidavits that they saw the same ballots being run through a tabulation machine multiple times. One Republican challenger saw a stack of 27 ballots with the ballot number covered with tape, being run through the tabulator on 5 separate occasions. Okay, backdating of ballots. A city of Detroit um, election workers signed an affidavit saying she was instructed to backdate mail-in ballots and not to look for any deficiencies in the ballots. In Pennsylvania, an analyst of the voter database shows that more than 51,000 ballots were marked as returned just a day after they were sent out. An extraordinary feat given the U.S. Postal Service delivery times, while nearly 35,000 were returned on the same day they were mailed out. Another more than 23,000 had a return date that was earlier than the sent date. Okay, so that's another one. Okay, voters counted after deadline. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled September 17th that election officials could accept all mail in ballots, including absentee ballots, up to 3 days after the November 3rd election. However, on November 5th, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito ordered Pennsylvania election officials to segregate ballots that arrive after Election Day. Okay, poll watchers obstructed. Republican poll watchers in Philadelphia, Detroit, and other major cities say they were obstructed from properly observing the handling and counting of ballot poll watchers. Say that they were told to stand back. So far, they couldn't see what was happening of that in the same cases ballots were handled in rooms to which they had no access. Other poll watchers said they were denied access despite having proper credentials. According to Rudy Giuliani, lawyer to Trump, in Pennsylvania alone, there were more than 682,000 mail-in ballots that were entered that were not observed by any single Republican. One Philadelphia poll worker said the vast majority of mail in ballots were processed 15 to 200 plus feet from us. The poll watchers said it was impossible for any observer to see what the workers were doing with any type of specificity, and the observers were not able to challenge any decision or determination being made on the processing of these mail in ballots. A judge ruled on November 30th that the state's Republican Party could inspect a sampling of mail-in ballots envelopes. Similar requests in Georgia have been rejected so far. Vote casters vote cast for people who had moved out of the state. By campaigning data to the National Change of Address Database, analyst Matt Braillard and his team identified hundreds of thousands of people in 6 contested states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada, who had moved out of the state, yet still have a vote cast in their name in that state. Georgia, for example, had 138,221 such people doing this. Okay, we're winding it on down. Okay. No or lack signature verification. A lawsuit filed in Georgia on November 30th states that deceased signature verification arose because counties did not screen mismatch in absent signatures and ballots unsigned without the oath as required by the election code. Similar accusations of a lack of signature verification requirements have been made in states across the county in Arizona. A judge ruled on November 30th that the state Republican Party could inspect sampling of mail-in ballots envelopes. Similar requests in Georgia have been rejected. Okay, P.O. boxes listed as home addresses. Bayard's team identified, based on voter registration data, voters who were registered using a post office box but attempted to disguise the box number as an apartment or suite number. Just in Georgia, his team found 1,000 such people had P.O. boxes as their home addresses. Unusually low ballot rejection date. An affidavit by Benjamin Overholt, an expert in applied statistics and research methods at the University of Northern Colorado, notes that there was a 0.15% rejection rate in the 2020 general election compared to a 0.28% rejection rate in the 2016 general election, 0.20% in the 2018 general election, and 0.28% in the 2020 primary. So that's the ballot. I went over the ballot The ballot irregularities right here. Now we're going to go to the voter machines. So electronic voting system, easy to manipulate. Alex Halderman, a professor of compute science at the University of Michigan, testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee in June 2017 about how easy it can be to manipulate computerized voting machines. Halderman said that during his research, he and his team found they could reprogram the machine to invisibly cause any candidate to win. So this had already been tested. Venezuela ties. One of the voting machines vendors used in the United States, Smartmatic, was, as of 2005, owned by Venezuelan investors, according to the Wall Street Journal. According to the New York Times, in 2006, the company was linked to the leftist Venezuelan government of President Hugo Chavez. It is unclear who owns Smartmatic at the moment. The company itself is mysterious about its ownership, other than stating it is privately owned. So a privately owned organization who has Venezuelan ties owns our voting machines. Okay. Whew. Built-in vulnerabilities. Voting machine produced by Dominion have built-in settings that allow for manual alterations. Options including giving different weights to votes belonging to different candidates. The system also allows for ballots to be scanned multiple times and for vote results to be removed. These functions make the system vulnerable to manipulate. In looking at these systems, we identify almost a dozen ways that you could inject or interdict to manipulate votes. Cybersecurity expert Colonel Walden testified before Arizona lawmakers on November 30th. No employee oversight. According to a sworn affidavit by a cyber security expert in Georgia, Dominion personnel were the only ones with knowledge of and access to the Dominion server. The expert said this was highly unusual in my experience and of grave concern from a security and conflict of interest perspective. He also said it was apparent Dominion employees have complete access to the computer system. Servers not hardened. Dell computers running the Dominion server appeared not to have been hardened. The process of securing a system by reducing its surface of vulnerability, according to a cyber expert who observed voting during the Georgia primaries. The expert said he found it unacceptable for an EMS server not to have been hardened prior to the installation. Hacking risks. A cyber expert in Georgia said he observed that computers used to process votes in Georgia during the primary appeared to have home/small business companion software package installed on them. One of the first procedures of hardening to removal of all unwanted software and removal of these game icons and the associated games, the experts said. Outdated operating system. A cyber expert who observed the Georgia primary said the Windows system of the main computer in the rack connected to the Dominion voting system has not been updated for 4 years and carries a wide range of well known and publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. The expert noted that the server appeared to be an ad hoc operation with no formalized process. Broken certification process. The Federal Election Assistance Commission, EAC, is responsible for the certification of all voting machines used in the United States. The agency, however, is so small that in 2017, uh, Consters sent a letter to the EAC raising concerns about the fact that the agency employs only one full-time staff member dedicated to overseeing the certification process. The agency relies on only one small company to conduct annual testing. And the last one, USB sticks plugs into machine. A poll observer from Philadelphia, Delaware County, Greg Stranstrom, said he personally observed USB cords being uploaded to voting machines by the voting machine supervisor on multiple occasions. Stinson told Pennsylvania lawmakers during a hearing on November 25th that this person was not being observed and was not part of the process. From where he could see, according to Stinson, the supervisor was walking in with baggage, and he observed him plugging the cords into machines at least 24 times, connected to the internet. An information technology contractor for Dominion Voting System who worked at the TCF Center in Michigan and a former state senator who was a poll challenger both said in a sworn affidavit that the voting machine used in November 3rd election were connected to internet. Dominion has denied its machines are connected to the internet. So these are all of the fraud allegations, which are a lot. It's a lot. Oh God. And you can find it on the ePoach Times. I'm going to put it down in the description so you can read it for yourself and see all of these allegations, because when Rudy Giuliani and Trump's legal team could not go over all this. So I wanted to take at least 30 minutes out to educate my people so y'all know exactly what's been said, what's going on, you know. And it's a lot of allegations, from the ballots to the electronic voting system to universal mail-in ballots to easing of mail-in restriction, poll watchers obstructed, electronic voting system, political foreign influence, media and big tech, allegations, 4 years of campaign against the Trump administration. These are all of the accusations that have been put on the Supreme Court's records and all the court records. And now, because of these sworn affidavits, these are a fact. These are not theories or nothing like that. They're a fact. Remember what I said, an affidavit in medieval Latin means for he has declared under oath is a written fact. Okay, so that is the allegation fraud, the election fraud allegations infographic. And hey, virtuous woman, yeah. So that's all the evidence. That's a lot of stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I don't see the left coming back on this one, because it's a lot of allegations that they have to fight right now. And I'm going to put it in the bottom of the description so everybody can see it for themselves. The E-Post Times did their due diligence and went and read the court docket and saw all the evidence, and they put it in an infographic, and I have it for y'all today. So tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, Salome. Have a great day.